Dispatch to all units. This is a third alarm. Switch to the TAC channel.
You got water.
Yes. This is the podcast for firefighters. We talk about real life situations, stuff in your station like leadership and promotions, and stuff in your personal life like relationships and finances. You name it, we talk about it. Some things may be a little controversial, but that's real life, and that's what we're going to talk about on the show. Man, guys, I'm beyond excited to be able to do this episode. We've had this one in the works for like damn near a year, and it's just really hard to get schedules, especially when you're on opposite sides of the country. But we've been able to make it work and get it together. So, guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Marty from the Span of Control and let him introduce himself, and then we're going to get into this one today.
Well, good morning. Glad we were able to make some time today. Marty Cornilson. I'm a fire chief for the community of Mountain House and French Camp here in California. Been in the fire service for 31 years. I've dabbled a little bit about everything, and I'm really glad to be here today and to talk to Heath about the topic that we're going to talk about today. Looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, man! Hey, you can be proud. I'm repping a Cali hat for you today.
I see that.
One of our founding outlaws sent me this right after the Palisades fire to help represent that Station 69. That everything, all the craziness that would happen. So I was like, you know what, Marty's coming on. I'm gonna rep. This is about as much Cali as you're gonna get out of me. I'm a hardcore Texan, but I'll do it for you guys today.
Yeah, when I was in the Palisades, I drove through and by Station 69 a couple of times. They're in the Palisades.
Man, it's pretty it's honestly just insane of everything that ended up happening out there. It's pretty wild to me, which I know y'all are getting ready with all the fire season kicking up right now. So what all y'all got going on? Anything going in your area? Or
Well, we're getting ramped up. Memorial weekend we just had. It was a quiet Memorial weekend. We have had a few little incidences down in Southern California, but the weather, we had a pretty mild weekend. So I'm anticipating, they always anticipate heavy fire seasons here in California, but I think this year we're probably going to get hit pretty good if things go the way that the fire gods want it to go. It's always here in California. I know you guys have a pretty late fire season. When's your fire season? December?
It's starting to kick off right now too. They're already the panhandle and stuff starting to light off. I know a lot of guys are already getting deployed to go up there. They've started doing a lot of all hazard, like pre fire condition deployments for guys. But I think it's already in full swing right now up around the panhandle. So, but we're just way dry this year. I mean, it's kind of rained around my house like the last week, but other than that, like I've only one time so far since spring. I mean, we're stupid dry and it's very, very windy. So conditions are not good for fires, I think, anywhere in Texas right now. So
yeah, we've already had a pre-deployment and red flag warning. So we're pre-staging, doing a little bit more than we have in the past. I guess we learned from our history. So our guys are getting ready. They're getting their bags ready for our deployments coming up here pretty soon.
Dang, man, it's gonna be a long summer. But no, we've talked around. We bounced around a couple different ideas on different things that we wanted to talk about. I know one of the big things that's kind of funny. I get asked all the time, like, man, you beat up fire chiefs and you're so hard on fire chiefs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, man, the funny thing is you go to looking at my guest list and it's pretty much all fire chiefs that I bring on here. And you're the guys that most of the time, I pick y'all's brains more than anything. And so I know that was something that we kind of want to talk about, was a lot of the bridging the gap and a lot of the understandings of hardships that you as a fire chief see, primarily on the things I cover, whether it's rushing promotions, moving people up too fast, not, getting really strong in their operations before they move on to the next step. Like all those little different things that you hear me go on my insane rants about are actually things that, that you're dealing with as a fire chief. Just so that people kind of know and stuff. Like, how big is your department? And, I'll let you kind of lead into some of the stuff that y'all deal with.
Okay, our department, like I said, I'm the fire chief for two different departments. French Camp Fire, which is a district county department, and then also now the community of Mountain House, which is now a city. So we basically run 3 stations, 1 French Camp, 2 in Mountain House. But in Mountain House, we run an engine in a truck out of one station and an engine out of the other. We're sitting about 32 personnel between the two departments. There is a gap. There's about a 15-mile gap between the two different agencies. 10 years ago, French Camp contracted to the community of Mountain House through the community services agency, and so now they are a city. They're we're very blessed in the community of Mountain House. We do have a lot of support. We have brand new apparatus. I'm sitting in a brand new station right now with my office. And then we have a station in French Camp, which basically protects a lot of the county facilities, about 411 acres to include the county hospital.
Oh wow.
We've been around
got
since
target
1940.
hazards and stuff.
What's that? Yeah, we
You got
have a
target
lot of
hazards.
target hazards. We run mutual aid with a number of different agencies, and automatic aid with some as well. So we're pretty busy. We have a major interstate that runs down the middle of our fire district there in French Camp, and waterways. We have it all. We have it all.
Dang. So what, as far as like what you're seeing with chiefs, I mean, I kind of have my opinions on a lot of things. I think some things are self-inflicted and whatnot, but um, from the chief's perspective, when it comes to staffing and what you're seeing out of current personnel coming in the doors and stuff like that, like what is your like current take and struggles as far as getting people in the door, caliber of people, character of people, and then moving them up through the ranks? Like I know that's kind of long-winded, but I mean, what's something you're truly dealing with that's like pretty strong on your mind these days?
For us, recruiting has been one of my biggest um, assets I've been able to do. I'm embedded in two of our junior colleges that have our fire academies, so I have a pretty good grasp on where the numbers are coming from, and for the recruits that are coming into our area, as well as a couple of our captains teach there as well. So recruiting firefighters is not really my problem. It's retaining those firefighters after we get them, because we're surrounded by the Bay Area and in larger metropolitan departments in our area. So I'm a AAA ball team for sure. We're good at it. In fact, our city mayor asked us, why are we having to hire so much? And I said, because we're hiring good people. We spend a lot of money in our background. We bring them on, and then other departments, they see good people and they want them. I mean, who wouldn't? So
Right. Yeah.
those are just some of the things that we're up against. But um, it's hard. I mean, even the numbers. I mean, in the past, we'd have lines and lines and lines days before a recruitment would open, and now we just don't. I mean, it's not just us; it's other agencies too. I mean, you've heard it on your podcast before, and then trying to get them through a background. I mean, our three biggest things are, it's driving records, and you know, they're they have a lot of debt, and then just the simple fact that their their character, a lot of it social media. It's really difficult to be able to to sift through some of that stuff. So it's really making it easy for the good candidates out there, but there's just not a lot of them per se that are wanting to get into the fire service anymore. I mean, we're working hard as well as everybody else is. You would think um, that this job would be, we say it's the best job in the whole world, but literally the conference and their chiefs are saying an average firefighter in our area is working 12 years and they're out. So, I mean, I think that's everybody's up against that same quota, is trying to hire good people.
Do you have a beat on why that is? Like any like personal opinion on why that is?
I mean, in some of our talks and our breakout sessions, I think a lot of it is just um, we've been doing a really good job of promoting and marketing the fire service, but we also have put out there a negative connotation to the health, like mental health and
Mm.
cancer and PTSD. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times I'll get parents that just like, I just don't want my kid being a firefighter. You know, um, they won't let them go in the military, and they're not wanting to become police officers and firefighters. So we're right there in that military question mark now. Is I want my kid to be safe, and I don't want them to have these issues. And so we've been trying to do a really good job of promoting and marketing that the fire service is safe. We're spending a lot of time and a lot of money, putting that out there. I had 2 years ago, a multiple amounts of candidates asked me in my chief's interview, what are you doing to promote, health and wellness, and what are you doing and what programs do you have? I've never have ever had a candidate ever ask me that question. So, we started focusing a little bit more on that by, with our um, different types of programs that we have in our benefit package. We have a post carcinogen reduction booth, basically a sauna that we use to be able to, we use it for after calls. They use it for just their fitness as well. Um, we found money and grants to be able to buy, two sets of gear because we have two different departments. So we have gear that has both names on them. So we're trying to make sure that we put them in a hood exchange program after a structure fire. We're doing everything we can. Um, the way that we wash and take care of our gear and our inspections. I mean, we do a lot now that we've ever done before. And we focused a lot of our finances towards that now too, because it is a question that's on their minds.
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually something I've been really kind of hitting it home a lot lately and trying to get more or less draw attention to. Because I think a lot of the older administrations and stuff like that don't have necessarily a good pulse on the way these young kids are, which I know your kids and my kids are pretty close to the same age, or my oldest kids are pretty close to the same age with the 18-year-old. And, when we have kids that age, it makes us able to relate because we're literally seeing them. You go to ball games, you go to this, like we're literally interacting with this new age group that's coming in. And that's one thing I very recently have talked about is the the new generation that'll be coming in is way more health conscious than what any of us ever were before. They're not drinking and partying. They're having a good time, but like at 21, all I was a drunk. So but I'm not seeing that. Like even out of my daughter and all her friends, they do their little, Friday night little, but they're not like living for drinking and partying like and clubbing like what we were. And they're working out, they're eating right. Like there's a lot more health conscious kids coming up. And I think that's cool. I've never actually heard a kid ask, I say kid, but a candidate coming in and ask the chief, like for one thing, that's kind of bold, but that shows you where their mindset is. They actually genuinely care about their health. And I think that's going to be a whole new road that most of us have not ever dealt with. I sad to say it, I kind of feel like a lot of the health of the past, we paid a lot of lip service to it, especially in the mental health space or the cancer space. We paid a lot of lip service to it and saying we cared, but did we really care? And did our actions reflect that? So I think that's cool. I think that's great that you're already trying something. It's better to try something, and we'll find out in 10 years if you end up being an infomercial or not, whether it worked or not, but you at least are trying.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is, I mean, I've been in the fire service for 31 years. Prior to that, the military, and then I've been around that pretty much my whole entire adult life. And I mean, I'm in my mid 50s, so I'm trying to stay in shape, not become a shape. I know a lot of our young firefighters, their main focus is on a new fire station is they want to know how big the gym's going to be, how accessible the kitchen's going to look, and and where in where the focus is for you know have that hot, warm, cold zones in our stations.
Hmm.
For health wise, I don't know if that's just something that they're being taught at a younger age now. Our young firefighters are very self conscious on what they eat and how much time they get to work out. I think everybody still has that same issue with training. I mean, I love to have hands on training. I think a lot of our guys are very in tune to that. But with target solutions and stuff like that, we get kind of kind of sucked into that behind the screen, which is good in some aspects. We just have to be able to monitor that, and as a fire chief and as chief officers, utilize those tools when they're needed, but also encourage and inspire our guys to go out there and do get the hands on and get out there and put their hands on the tools and equipment. And we try to be a good aggressive search organization. We don't get a lot of grabs, but that's the reason why we do search a lot, is because the potential's here. Here in Mountain House, we have large 32 to 3,500 square foot, sometimes bigger homes. And in French Camp, it's a little bit different. It's more of a county. We have, smaller shotgun styles, 1,100 to 1,300 square foot homes, and multifamily generations that are there 24/7. There's no longer homes aren't occupied during the day. These homes are occupied across the country all day long with COVID, allowing people to work from home. And then also, having multi generations living in these residents. The search is always a must. There is no longer, it may look unoccupied. It's always occupied. Fire starts from someone or something. That's how it starts.
100%. I agree wholeheartedly. That's
Yeah.
what we tell all the guys. Fires don't start themselves.
Nope.
So there's a reason, and it may look vacant, but in Houston, Texas, there's a crackhead or a homeless person lives in that vacant building all day long, every day. That's where they live. So, yeah, I'm right there with you on that. I know you are pretty heavily involved with the different conferences. Of course, we were out there at March Mayhem with y'all. Uh, how is that viewed in your realm, as far as being chief and being so heavily involved in different conferences? And I think y'all were in Georgia the other day.
Yeah.
So for one, how do your guys view that as, hey, like our chief is going to conferences and training? Is that like that's pretty solid to them? Like it helps you build your reputation with them, or do they even notice, or is it talked about?
Well, I mean, they know that I'm a heavily into training, and they know that that's part of who I am and what my fire career has been based off of, other than now being a fire chief and making sure that they have what they need. Um, I encourage them to go. I mean, this last March Mayhem, we had 5 of our members for the first time come up to March Mayhem, and they had a blast. And they learned a lot of new things. I want them to go out there to see what's out there. What could we do better? And also sometimes they see we do have a lot of good things and other people have less than us. So we should be grateful for what we have in, in a good way. I mean, not
Oh
in
yeah.
this way. And to challenge them. I encourage them. We have a pretty healthy training budget, because myself and Deputy Chief Fulmer come from a training background, and with Ambassador of the Craft and the other, so far this year been a March Mayhem, the Cody Fire School in Wyoming, and Massey. We're out there and getting things done, and we have amazing conferences coming up. I know you're down there in Mississippi. Uh,
Mhm.
the was it the Coastal Magnolia? Um,
Yeah.
you know, we got Great Lakes. There's so many. You got the firemanship coming up in Aurora, Illinois. I mean, there's so many conferences out there. You cannot find a week or a weekend that doesn't have a conference out there. So,
Oh, 100%.
but for me, I don't think some guys are into the job and some guys aren't. Everybody has them. Um, I encourage I encourage this when we hire folks. I can't remember. I just heard it on a podcast. I'm hiring people not to just be firefighters, but to be an engineer and a captain in the future. That's what we're hiring. If we're a single dimension organization, then we're probably not going to be a very good organization.
So how do you talk about, and I've seen that, in the Houston area, that's a big issue. The county departments, like where I work, a lot of times they're a training ground for guys to go to HFD. That just kind of is the nature of the beast. And then you do have the guys that hang around, but sometimes there's the rock stars that stay because, like, I'll be honest, which I'm not calling myself a rock star, but I stayed in the county systems because I was already established and my pay was good and I had a family young and I could not afford to go start over at Houston for $28,000 a year with 2 kids at home. I financially couldn't do it. So you have the guys that stay in the county or whatever, they stay at these departments because they're already established and stuff like that, and they're able to move through the ranks. But what is your view on the more county departments and doing like what you're trying to do? Like you're trying to get them to be solid drivers and then move into solid officer positions without losing them. What is your I guess what is y'all's pathway to get people in that where they stay, the ones that want to stay, but they stay and then they're also successful? Like what exactly are y'all doing?
I mean, our culture in our organization is not driven or created by a fire chief because we come and go every 4 to 5 years. So then that means you'd have a whole bunch of different cultures. I think that our culture is, for me, as a fire chief, is I use our MOU based off of a recruit and retention tool as well. So I'm really heavily involved with our labor group just to make sure that we can provide certain things that other organizations may not be able to because of the dynamics of the large size of their organizations. Take care of their family. Um, we make sure that our benefit package, fits a family. We make sure that education incentives. We make sure that our uniform allowance meets the needs of our members, so they have to pay extra. Um, we try to be involved and make sure. For me, I know my members and their families. Try to have different family events. We try to do things that you know has more meaningful when you talk about a fire family. That's what we try to do. I'm not saying we're great at it. Sometimes we're not good at it, but the intentions is that is why what we do in our organization. Some people like that and value that. They want to be closer to home. Family. I mean, I was 26 years in the fire department that I lived in that hometown, and my kids went to school, and I was able to go to their school functions. So that was important to me than to get paid a lot of money. I try to encourage our guys, live within your means. I just drove up and I saw a brand new, looks like a $90,000 pickup out there, but I mean, they're grown ass adults. So
Right.
I want them to be able to live within their means, but that's a want. That's not something I can make them do. So we try to encourage that. Um,
Ah.
I,
You can tell them come listen to my show. I beat that up big time. Stop buying new trucks.
but it's a lesson. It's one of those
Yeah.
things where when they're young and they figure that out, and then their seasons change. When you got
100%.
you got a spouse, you got one mouth, two mouths, three mouths to feed. Things will change, and I think that's where our value in our organization. If people can see the long term, it'll work out. So I mean, and then the other things like I spoke about, it's like if we invest in them, then they'll invest in us. But some of our best hires are those guys in their early late 30s that their goal was to become a firefighter, but it just wasn't attainable right then.
Mhm.
And now it is. And so those are some of our good hires. Is some of those older firefighters that are coming in that they understand what it's like uh, and our values meet their values. So that's what we try. We have, Chief Former has 5 F's here. It's faith, family, the fire service, fitness, and focus. Whatever your faith is, the first 3 have to be in that order. If you have a strong faith, you can have a strong family. Strong family, got to come and work with your head screwed on straight. And then the fitness and focus, you can utilize that however you want. So those are some of the things that we try to focus on to create a good atmosphere here in our organization. And I think a lot of other organizations, try and work on those same things. It's not always can't accomplish it all the time, but those are the goals in which we try to achieve.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What as far as y'all's promotional stuff to fill those ranks, especially as y'all expand and things like that, uh, how much emphasis are you putting on promoting the person as opposed to promoting the qualifications?
So these are some of the things that we've talked about at all the different conferences, side tables, at the social events is, how I've even heard you did talk about it on some of your guests before is, you know, do you promote the need or you promote the want? And we need to promote because when we lose a driver, an officer, for us, that could be somebody that's been here for 6, 5, 4 years, sometimes even less. So we try to incorporate um, those skills as soon as we possibly can without taking away the nuance of being a firefighter and being able to sit backwards and being able to kick doors in and putting, flames on the red stuff. So we try to encourage our guys to start looking at, the engineer spot, and our engineers looking at the officer spot. We do an in-house 8-week officers academy where we go over all the aspects. We try to incorporate everything from uh, reports to admin to working conflict, resolution and conflict, how to doing a size up, understanding our policies, dealing with the public, all those different things. So that way, when the time does come, they're ready. But we don't want to force anybody to drive, especially some of these young guys. They've never driven anything bigger than a Prius out here. Um,
Yeah.
so it is important for us for them to feel comfortable, because before, like when we came in, if someone said, "I need you to do this," what was our answer?
Yes, sir.
Exactly, yes, sir. Now it's I don't feel comfortable. And so those are some of the things where if they're confident, they'll be competent. And so competent comes with confidence. And so I think those are some of the things that we try to encourage, even a type 6, a class C, you know, license to be able to drive a 4x4, F550 is a big piece of apparatus for some of these younger guys. So we
Oh,
we start them slow and we work them up. But they feel the pressure when they start seeing guys leaving. They know that we're going to be coming and asking for them to step up, because I'm not getting laterals. People aren't coming to my organization unless they're retired and in a different retirement system, which we just was able to pick up a couple of laterals here recently. But we're not going to get these young kids, because they're chasing the dollars. They're going to go to the bigger departments and chase that. So we really try to encourage them through giving them the opportunity to train a lot, not to force them. And so far it's worked. We have some really good folks, because I know it, because people take them. Been a fire chief here come September 5 years, and I've lost 22 people to other organizations in 5 years.
wow. Yeah, I guess that says you're a pretty good training ground.
We are. I mean, and I think that's the reputation in which we've created, which is a good one and a bad one in the same sentence. But I don't want to change it. I'm not afraid. When I first got here, a lot of young guys wouldn't tell us that they're going and they're testing, but really put us behind the curve of trying to do some replacements. So I just said, listen, you know, if you want to go, I support you. I want you to go where you feel comfortable, where you need. If you feel like our organization can't financially sustain a family, then you need to go where you're going to be happy, because I don't want you to be unhappy here. And I think that has helped, because we've been told more frequently ahead of time of where they're at in their process. And then and then I think other people respect that. I think that's the biggest thing is I'm not going to hold it against you. I've been there. I've tested before. And so I know what it's like. So why would I be angry? Um, you know, I just have to be really good at making sure that, we're out there and we're promoting, we're using social media to promote our calls. So we got some young guys that want to go on calls.
Mhm.
We have a really good organization to the north of us that is nationally known for fighting fires. And so, we get a little bit of that. So we try to utilize those. We do a lot of vehicle extrications. We got water rescue. We got a really good drone program. So those are all the things that we have to, as organizations, promote and use that as a marketing tool to market what kind of organization.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I think we're coming into a whole new age of the fire service that I don't know that people really recognize. Like, you're gonna see a lot more guys that are stepping up, because it 100%, like, people would tell you like, "Hey, go do this," and you're like, "Yes, sir," and you just figure it out, like, wholeheartedly. But I think through exposure, sadly, through people like me and stuff like that, guys are starting to realize that it's okay to stand up against the status quo, if you will, or it's okay to like say, I don't know how to do that. And you're not going to put me in the position where I'm going to end up compromised. And I think people are seeing that now. Like a lot of departments, a sad reality. I mean, I've seen it in my area very recently. Somebody will wreck a truck, they'll be at fault and the department will cut them loose. And then that guy said that morning, "Hey, I've never drove this truck before. I don't need to be on it." But he was ordered to get on it. But then when he gets in a wreck, he gets in trouble and gets cut loose. So it's like it's a massive double-edged sword. And I think a lot of people are starting to clue into that with like the world just being a sue happy world that it is now. Like they got to kind of sort of look after themselves. And I personally think it's a good thing for somebody to come to me and be like, "Hey, I don't know how to do that, or I'm not comfortable with that." And I can work with that as opposed to somebody that just bullshits me or whatever and is like, "Oh yeah, I got it." And they ain't got it. And so I think it's a good thing, but I think that's a new age of the fire service that we've never really dealt with before because people just like try to figure it out.
No, and then I think that's where where we come from is in the past. I mean, we would never say no to anybody because
Right.
opportunities were hard to get. I mean, I remember standing in lines for days to get a job.
I
Now,
mean,
now they can't even fulfill the requirements to do interviews because they don't have enough candidates. So I know we're in two different eras and times have changed, and so that's where when folks are saying I'm not comfortable, I have to ask myself, then what are we not doing enough to be able to make them comfortable? Yeah. And some of it's our responsibility, and some of it is
mhm.
on the responsibility of who we hire. My best hires sometimes are those kids that grew up on farms and ranches. Their families own restaurants, so they know what it's like to get up in the morning. They know what it's like to be on a schedule. They know what it's like be able to work on their own and not have to be monitored or managed. So those are some of the qualities that we look for. And shoot, I'm at a restaurant, I see this kid humping the butt, busting tables and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing in your life? Maybe you want
Yeah.
to look at the fire service. And my wife always, she's like, you know, she knows that what I'm trying to do, but she's like, can we just have dinner and not have to work? You trying to recruit? Because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
for sure. And I think
yeah,
it's a big training aspect too. Like it is our responsibility to train and teach them.
yeah. I mean, I've been a coach. I've been an athlete. I always wanted to be, a professional baseball player. Didn't work. I got to college and realized that there's people out there that put a little bit more time and effort than I did, and the opportunities that they had, I didn't have. So my goal was to be a football coach and a history teacher. Well, I turned into a firefighter, but we're always looking for those attributes in other people. And so if we can encourage and inspire that, I mean, that's why we're here. That's what leaders are supposed to do. Um, I just heard the other day, what's the sign of a good leader? It's those people that trust to follow you. They trust you and they'll follow you. If they don't trust you, then they're not going to follow you, no matter what. And I think that's one thing, and we have to, um, lead from the front. And then, we also need to make sure that we don't have leaders that are trying to lead from the shadows because they don't know how to lead because they don't want to, be ridiculed or they have to feel confident that that responsibility that they have as a leader um, is entrusted in our organization.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think that's a big part a lot of people miss. And it's been on my mind here recently, obviously. It's pretty fresh, but like, I think the big thing a lot of leaders per se, because that's the word that's getting thrown around like crazy right now in the fire service, but people miss that like people are different. Like different things that drive different people. There's a million plus firefighters in the nation. And I don't understand what's complicated about understanding that like that's a million different learning styles. That's a million different personalities of what's gonna bring somebody in, inspire them, motivate them, make them have loyalty to you. Like you have to be pretty, um, whatever you want to call it, like vast in your understanding that like me and you grew up playing sports. So if we have a guy that a captain or whatever, and we're on, on a crew, and we have that guy that like talks to us like a coach and pumps us up like a coach, like, man, we respond to that. And then you have other people that they're not that way. They grew up inside, they like playing video games or they're musical or whatever. They're not going to like that football coach type mentality. They're going to want somebody, I guess, more or less with a more methodical or soft touch. But like we have all those different types of people within our ranks. So, kind of what's your view on that? And like, how much are you seeing that, or really just what's your opinion on being able to respond to like all those different types of personalities to make it work?
Yeah, I would say in the past, it was either your officer's way or the highway. But I think now, like you said, we have a lot of different folks getting into the fire service. It's not that A type personality, that athlete, or the people come out of the military. They people see the fire service for, you get paid a lot, you got a great schedule, and it's one of those jobs where you literally could work almost less than you are working, based off of how the structure it is for us. And that's becoming a big issue in the fire service today, is our scheduling. But I think um uh most of the young officers that I have today, they understand that. They understand that you're not going to have the go-getters all the time. You're going to have to manage them differently, and you have to lead them differently. And I have, 5 kids. I have 2 daughters and 3 sons. The 2 daughters are from my first marriage, and one I can push hard, just like an athlete. The other one can't do that way. Have to be a little bit softer,
Right.
but give you the same results. But you just have to handle them differently. I think the ones that you typically have to, not be so direct with, if they understand the reason why they're here. And I would hope that when you hire folks like that, they understand it. Like Chief Thompson, if you're not willing to go into a fire and risk your life to save a life, I don't want to hire you. He says it.
Mhm.
He says it on a poster, and if you're not willing to do that, I don't want to hire you. And I think sometimes, like, we do than to do a lot with the just not of firefighters that we want in our organizations. And I think sometimes we get pushed into having to fill quotas than to be able to have the right folks, because the fire service is an organization in which we have to do what others won't do.
Mhm.
And, and we'll always be the one standing to do and to help those who can't help themselves. I think those are some of the things that we can eventually, in our young firefighters, hopefully they'll get. And I think a lot of that is when they go to trainings and when they see other like-minded people, and they're like, "Wow, I don't see this in my organization." And I did my first department. I went to Firehouse World in San Diego, I saw Bruncini, Salka, Lasky, McGrail, all those guys, McCormick, all those guys. And I'm like, these are the guys that nobody, if you said those names, half my guys probably wouldn't know.
Wow.
They wouldn't know then. Um, but it's up to me. Like, I mean, in the back, I got all their books. I got Cordy Moore's book of search and all these. They know those guys because I brought them in. We spend the money to bring them in. And some of our guys will come to classes and some of them won't. And it's a shame, but I can't make the unwilling do what we need to do. So I just
Mhm.
try to encourage it. Um, but it is tough. It is tough to have those firefighters who would be willing to wait instead of rushing,
Mhm.
because they're the way their mindset is I'm not the first one to jump. But I think it's up to us to figure out how to get to that. And I think that's what probation's for. Don't be afraid to use that probationary period to to because that's the next 1 year is 19 years of having somebody that is not going to be productive in your organization.
Yeah. Yeah, recently I put that post out talking about, firefighters, and that was kind of something I probably wasn't clear enough in what I meant, but some people took it as a gender thing, but really what it was like in my area, it's become a big thing where we can't call them rookies or probies, or they do not have a probationary period. They walk in the door as a firefighter. They hold the same clout with administration on the books and everything as I do as a guy that's been on, 17 years, that they're the same. And that's becoming real prevalent in our area of the US and stuff. And guys administrations are really pushing that. And I'm kind of trying to fight against it, mainly for what you're saying. Like I had to do a rookie year. And like, yeah, you may do all your phase testing and you may be done with all that stuff. But like, if you show your true colors of being a turd, by the time that year's up, they'll cut you loose and they can just do that. Whereas now we took away the probationary period. And so, then you get stuck with it. Then you hear the same old excuse, oh, they've been like that for 20 years. Well, man, we didn't catch that. Like, why couldn't we have caught that in the year one? Because now we're married to this guy for the next 19 years. Like, to me, it's a solution to its own problem, but it is a problem that I don't know what's so complicated about it, but it seems to be a major issue in my area. So I'm glad to see y'all are still doing that.
Well, there's pockets in the United States, and there's organizations. You may have individuals that really want to implement that, but you're stuck with HR. You're stuck with different means to be able to um, not allow that to happen. I think we just have to try our hardest to stay true to who we are individually. We had Candace Ashby, Chief Ashby at Mayhem, and she's been out there all over the country doing amazing things. Delivering
Oh,
her.
he's a rock star.
Yeah, she's no nonsense. I think if she doesn't offend you in the first 3 minutes of her talking, then you probably shouldn't be in the fire service, because she will wake you up. She will
Mhm.
hold you accountable, and she's saying things that a lot of people probably wouldn't be willing to say. And there are a lot of people out there that are saying it. It's just the wrong people, or the wrong people, or the right people should be hearing it, um, aren't there. And I think those are some of the things that for me, um, I'm a small town fire chief from nobody nowheres, and all I'm trying to do is just make sure that our organization can stand on its own. Because when the tones drop, the public can give 2 cents who shows up. They just want a professional to show up, and they want somebody that's
100%.
supposed to be doing their job. And so, but what you're doing, and other individuals out there are putting it out there. Your last I saw, the the gentleman you talked about being coaches. Um, um, you had it on an email, like your letter is, that's what we are. We're coaches. If we put the same effort into what professional football and baseball players do during practice, or how many games a year? 104 for baseball and 16 for football. With all the effort and all the money they put into being a professional, we should do the same thing as the firefighters, because we we have a game 365 days out of the year. Every day
Oh, 100%.
we are, and sometimes we play multiple games. Playing a double header. I played a double header. That's a lot of work. Try doing that 3-4 times a day. You know, uh,
100%.
it's
And
it,
and any one of them is not just a game. It could be the Super Bowl. It could be the Super Bowl of your career.
Well, and that's everybody's call. It's their Super Bowl, because their emergency, you know, is their emergency. It may not be an emergency to us, a bleeding nose. May not be an emergency to us, but as a public, as Chief Brunacini's like, if you don't have the capture the minds of your community, then they're not going to hear you when they need you, when you need their help to help get better equipment and better pay,
Mhm.
better situations. So that's what our guys. Our guys were just got back from going out. It's the end of school year here in California, and they're doing water palooza. They're spraying water on the kiddos, and they're having a fun old time. But that's our engagement into the community. We do that a lot, so it's important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely think it's an interesting concept, man. To me it's so simple because I really revert everything in my life ends up one way or another, it reverts back to either sports or rodeo, because every lesson I ever learned come from either one of those avenues, that of things that matter. And so it's not overly complicated to me in a sense to try to dumb things down, but when you talk about that engagement with the community, and you talk about, uh, people basically, they always use the old saying of, oh, well, you're here to answer their worst day and all that. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I think one of the big platforms that I'm kind of trying to push here is like truly understanding that. Uh, I think that we've gotten to a point with a lot of the leaders, if you will, that are missing the whole adage. Like, you can be educated as you want to, but what real education is understanding whatever that subject is. And whether if you understand how to do a math problem and you have a math degree, well, that makes sense. You're educated in math. One thing that I'm trying to my dogs are pissed off. It's starting to thunder outside. One thing that I want guys to start recognizing is, like, we push really hard on the understanding of trying to keep ourselves safe, but we lose the understanding of what it's like to be that person in that burning building. And we talk about it and we act like we understand. Yeah, we're sorry you lost your family member. We're sorry you lost your home. Whatever that looks like, we kind of sort of pretend like we understand, but do we really understand? And I love that you were talking earlier about the search culture that you're trying to push, even with limited staffing, even with a hard response time of your mutual aid coming from 15 minutes down the road. But you're still having your guys push that narrative because that shows you have an understanding. Like, it really sucks to burn to death. It really sucks to smoke, like have smoke inhalation and choke on that shit, hoping a fireman comes. And to me, until you really start understanding that, and you take away all the little catchphrases of why we're being, safety driven, and start really understanding, like, that is a miserable death. That's not a good death. As the Native Americans would say, there's a good death. That's not a good death. That sucks. And it's our job to try to prevent that. And I really wish we put a lot of focus across the nation, of all departments, on really understanding that's the fold that we're stepping. We're trying to prevent that. And it doesn't really matter, like you're talking about, they want a professional. It doesn't matter if you're volunteer, it doesn't matter if you're paid, doesn't matter if you're one station, two stations, Houston Fire Department with 100 stations. They expect that rock star to show up and stop that from happening, and to understand that that's what they're trying to do. Um, and I think it's really cool that even at a smaller organization on the other side of the country, you're trying to accomplish that because you have that understanding. And then getting out in the community and doing the water paloozas and the parades and stuff, all the different things that we do, it really shows that like your guys. It shows the public that your guys understand their way of life, however that looks like, but their way of life. And I just think that's cool. I just want to kind of paint that, basically to give you that aboard on that, because I think that's cool because a lot of chiefs are not doing that.
I mean, it's tough. For me, I being a fire district chief and a city chief at the same time, there's a lot of different things that I I make sure that my guys don't have to worry about. I let them try to do, you know, manage what you can control. And if our guys focus on that at the firefighter level all the way up, then our life would be so much easier in the firehouse. Don't worry about, um, what somebody else is doing. Just take care of what you need to take care of, and honestly, you'll have fun. I remember what it was like to have fun in a firehouse. I mean, my 4 days was looking towards my 2 days sometimes. I love my family and I love being with them, but sometimes I just wanted to get back to work because I didn't want to miss out on something because I enjoyed being on the job. If something bad was going to happen, I wanted it to happen when I was there because I knew that I could handle it and that challenge that was out there in front of us. So I would like for them to have that. I can't want that for them. They have to want that themselves. And that's hopefully who we're hiring is that want. No, I don't want people to run away from danger. I want them to understand that they've trained for it, they're prepared for it, and it's their job to do it, or don't do this job. I think that's what probation's there for us. Put them in the burn rooms, either be a class A or a class B. Have them train. If it's raining, we're training because we can't stop weather from calls, and then we find out what our limitations are or not. And then you go ask for those tools. Um, you know, I look at all the data and I'm like, why are we short in training this month? So I know they're out there training because I see them. Because they're not reporting. Okay, that's one of our biggest downfalls. I think in our organization, and across the country is we're not giving ourselves credit where credit's due. It's like, do your reports, make sure that you're doing those things. And and you know, we're spending a lot of time behind a keyboard. I know for officers, there's a lot of things that they're doing. I think, I really want to try to focus on minimizing that so that they can be out there with their guys. Um, what types of different programs we can limit and cross over and have them integrated to where the information is being processed into our um, infers as well as our medical reports, so that we're not duplicating a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of things that we can do,
Mhm.
but we just have to go up there and find it. So I know we talked earlier in our talks is, what can we do to help prepare these guys, in training? It's like there's organizations that are doing things really well. Why not see what we can do to join up and have a partnership? Like especially with training engineers, driver operators 1A, 1B, whatever your driving requirements are in their states is get out there and don't do it by yourself. You don't have to do everything by yourself. You know, you don't have to create JPAs or those types of things. You can have a friendly training opportunity and invite people. We're not the big brother in our county, so when other people are doing things, I'll ask, "Hey, do you think my guys can come and just watch? Can we just see what you guys are doing?" And then that'll lead into certain things.
Mhm.
Schools do a great job of making sure they're out there helping training, and it may not cost anything. It maybe cost $25. But we have to encourage ourselves to do that, or we're just going to fall behind. And we're making the excuses. Guys, because I'm not willing to do something. So that's what we need to do as leaders as well at all different levels. But we got to get our guys out there and train, and find ways to do it, especially in that driving realm. A lot of a lot of guys are waiting around. They want to ride backwards for 4 years and slay the dragon. Well, the dragon's not coming around. I mean, that's why it's a legend. It's not. It's a myth. It's not out there. You know? So
Yeah.
so let's get out there. And I know you do a phenomenal job from what I've seen. Showing different types of water operations and engineering and practical. We got to have those things. Have to. We're up at Massey at Cobb County Training Facility. Amazing. We walk into their training. They got a cab of a Pierce engine inside with big screens, and they have all the computer stuff, which is great. Phenomenal. They got a drive-in bay where the BC can drive in and they can set up scenarios. That's awesome. That's just one aspect of training, and then going out and doing, some real life operations and getting out there and do those things. We have to have reps. Got to have reps, no matter what it is. Either it's in the classroom, at the dinner table, on the training ground. Got to have reps.
100%. Yeah, I think in my travelings over the last year, I've been traveling doing my lecture now for a little over a year, and then we've been doing the hands-on almost 2 years, informally, formally a year. And that's one of the big things we've learned is coming in and teaching like a realistic pump ops class has had more benefit for these guys. Like they'll tell us, they'll send us in because I do an evaluation of the class, and these guys will send us in a review, and they're literally telling us like, "Hey, man, we learn more in 2 days with you on an engine ops class than we have in 2 years of our department's training." And it's not like we're dumbing it down. I'm not teaching coefficients and friction loss. Like I'm teaching dummies are us pump ops for fireground ops. Like that's literally what we're doing. And because it's tried and true stuff that has worked for 30 years, and so it just works. And then and explaining, like a big portion of our class is truly explaining how the pump itself works, how the pump and the truck work, everything from old school trucks all the way up to the new age ones. Like we've had a lot of guys that are old school guys that come and get on a pump panel for one of these new digital style throttles, and it has a pressure governor in it. They put it in pressure mode because they don't even know the difference between RPM mode and pressure mode, for one. But then, when the truck starts surging up and down, depending on what water is flowing, these guys start panicking. And it's like, That's what the truck is literally doing what it's supposed to do. And that's something that's been kind of a realization for me is we go across all across the nation to teach and like there's literally people amongst the ranks that don't even know the difference between PSI mode and RPM mode. They have a brand new truck, but no one has ever described to them what those buttons actually do. And so it's cool to have the opportunity to go and do that, but it's also it sheds some light on fire chiefs. Like, you know, you send these guys a driver operator certification, they get their paper, and we actually joked about it the other day at my department. You can actually obtain your driver operator certification in the state of Texas and have never driven a fire truck. So you could be a certified DO and never driven a fire truck. And then you're ready to promote and you've still never driven a fire truck. And so it's a really weird dynamic that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. Like my administration, until that got pointed out in a recent officer meeting, the people in my administration did not know that was even possible. So, you know, I'm not saying that's the case everywhere, but I would challenge like a lot of chiefs, like just because your guys have a certification does not mean they have the true understanding of what this truck is capable of, what it'll do, and how to do it. So yes, you're right. The reps have got to be there. The training has got to be there. That's the only thing I think that's gonna not only save a victim, but save your guys in a bad day, but then also save your department from getting sued. So it's a whole other deal.
No, no doubt. I mean, liability is a lot of reasons why things don't happen. It's because of that fear of what if this something bad happens? Well, what if we can counterbalance it with all the things that we do to make it right? But sometimes effort is some things that hold us back. And you know, for me is if guys come to me with a, with an idea or even like we have this problem, like they know they got to come to me with at least a couple ideas on how they're going to fix it, because I don't have time to fix their problems um all the time, because they wouldn't want me to fix their problems because it'd be easy
Mhm.
to fix their problems, and it may not be the way that they want it. So I would like to say that I try to be as engaging as a firefighter as I can. um and being a fire chief, I know I can. I think Chief Tracy told me when I had him come out, somebody said they didn't like to be micromanaged. And I think he's like, why would you say your leader is a micromanager? Does he not? Because micro means little. So he knows little about what he's managing you. And like, no, no, no. He's always looking over our shoulders. He doesn't trust us. I go, oh, he goes, oh, cool. So he's over managing you. So you have micromanagers and you have over managers. Micromanagers are the ones you want to be fearful. Those are the ones that don't know how to manage you and are trying to tell you how to do your job. So
Mm.
I don't want to be a micromanager because I want to know what they're supposed to be doing. So sometimes I have to learn to give them the task, give them the resources, give them some time frames, and then follow up with that, because I got other things I need to do too as well. So that's when you start having a organization become engaging. They'll be worried about the budget because they're in charge of their own portion of that budget. So now I have guys that are saying, "Hey, knucklehead, stop doing this because you're taking you're spending my money that we don't need to spend. Make sure that you're not running into at bay doors, and you're not leaving stuff on the fire ground, and we're not losing stuff." I mean, those are a lot of things that add up. I think once the organization starts to function as one, man, things change, and then they'll start having fun. We got one of our just for fun facts. Um, in the Bay Area, they have a destruction derby, and it's all firefighters across the area. So they give them cars, and then each organization gets to build up their own car, and we go out there for 2 nights, Saturdays and Sundays, in the public, and get sponsored, and we just crash into each other. Uh, and so it's just a fun way of being able to, you know, become come together as first responders, and then also they're making shirts and their families are getting involved. We're going over to our managers who's managing the destruction derby car, his house, and I don't know anything about mechanics other than what I don't know, but he's welding and they're doing all their fun stuff, and so it's a good way for us to come together as an organization as well. So being able to have those opportunities to do that is important.
Man, that's really freaking cool. That's badass. I've never
Hey,
done
I'll
that.
send you some video. I'll send you some video.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, you were talking about the budget breakdown. My part time, we have a new administration, and they end up taking it all away, and now they're running it all again. But my part time, the old chiefs, the old administration that was there, they were actually big on that. We had program managers, and whether it was fire equipment or EMS supplies, quartermaster, everybody was given their portion of the budget. And you're absolutely right. That was something that I saw, like when guys had to be in charge of the maintenance budget, they didn't want you tearing some crap up that was going to burn up the budget, and take away from what they really needed to be doing.
Yeah, my
So
phone's
that's very
vibrating.
cool. I didn't realize that y'all were implementing a program like that, but I do believe in that. I think it makes a huge difference when you kind of let guys have that ownership of different programs or whatever it is that you want to call it. And there is a level of accountability that comes because I'm gonna be like, hey man, stop tearing up shit because I don't have the money for that. So
Yeah, that's that ownership. That's Chief Lasky's pride and ownership. I mean, when they start taking the ownership of it, and they realize that if we're losing that money, across the board in 3 years, if we're able to sustain and obtain that income that's sustainable, then we can use it to use you know for more more money in our salaries and different things. So those are some of the things that when they understand what chiefs have to go through. And, I don't want to take away anything from them,
mhm.
but I have to be responsible too, because if I can't sustain it, then, something's going to have to give. And I don't want to have to take people's jobs because we can't afford them. So, that's our responsibility too, to ourselves and to the public, because it's public money. It's not my money.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just managing it.
How long did that from the time that y'all kinda implemented that of letting guys have the ownership of their different programs or whatever, how long till you really started seeing, like, I guess, a mindset change?
It took about a year because it's about a year for them to be able to see that,
Okay.
because that's where we're able to show the data to be able to show them what we're saving. But some of the programs, like the maintenance, is the biggest one. When people they weren't doing their job, they weren't following up, they were pencil whipping their checkouts and stuff like that. When those individual managers started to see that in the PPE, some of the stuff that gets used a lot, when they start seeing people just abusing things and not taking care of things, that's when it's like, now they're going to self-regulate themselves. I don't have to do it
Dang,
within
man.
within within responsibilities, and not like Lord of the Flies where they just go out there into the back of the firehouse. And I mean, it is good to have fist fights in the firehouse, but there has to be
Ah!
there has to be some response. They have to be responsible. But I think they really honestly started taking on a lot of that I didn't have to do that anymore. They manage themselves. I could see it in a good way.
Well, that's freaking awesome, man. I mean, I think it's a very, very successful route to go. I encourage like I get if it's massive city, Los Angeles, something like that. You can't break it down like that. But a smaller county department, smaller city department, being able to implement and bring those guys into the fold, let them have some ownership of the budget, have some budget planning, input, things like that. You're gonna really see that do dividends on the back end where guys really they just give a damn again.
Yeah.
um, yeah, the firehouse fist fights deal is a pretty hot topic this week. It just makes me laugh, but it's we're still at the end of the day we're dealing with freaking people, and all of us that really love this job are gonna be fired up about whatever it is that we're gonna be doing that's related to this job. I mean, we love it. Like you said, your days off, you were looking forward to coming back, and uh, I was that guy too. A long time, I kind of thought I was crazy because if there was a fire going on anywhere in Harris County, I wanted to make it. It was just it drove me insane when I would be off and I would miss it, or it would be the next station over's fire and not my fire. And it's like,
Yep.
no, damn it, I want to be on that. And I think there's a lot of guys out there that really have that passion and that love, and they want to do it all. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that that's who we should be hiring is people that love it that much that they just always want to be there. They want to be that guy.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I think That's what the fire service that I knew when I first came into it was about. I mean, I came from a volunteer department that turned into a part-time pay to partial pay to full pay, ALS transport as well as ALS on engines. And, we always wanted to be in the fight. If it wasn't our fight, we wanted to go and help them.
Yeah, yeah.
And there just wasn't enough of it around. I think that's when we start getting complacent and we start turning our times to something different. And so, we have to be able to find ways to engage our members into the fire service, either it be calls or, the history of the fire service. I mean, people are calling hooligans Halligans. I'm like, that's not a Halligan. Do you know what a hooligan is and why it was made for? So the historical part of the fire service is very important in the fire service. It's like, what's your culture? What's your traditions? You should have two traditions. You should have the tradition of the fire service, the American fire service, and you should have your own organization tradition because they come hand in hand. And culture is not made by individuals; it's made by the organization over course of time. And sometimes it may change. You know, um, you know, we used to fight a lot of fire in French camp, but we don't anymore. Not as much as we used to. So now we run a lot more vehicle accidents, complicated ones. 2-lane highways with water on both sides. You got cars upside down with people in them, um, and you need extrication while it's on its roof in the water. A lot of our guys, we don't see that on a norm. How many times do you go to a extrication class where you have a car upside down in water with full extrication? Um, to get people out.
No training class I've been to is doing that.
So the first time is when you see it, but if you can tie in all the different aspects of your reps, it's up to us. The tow truck
Yeah.
guy ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, there's nobody else coming.
The police officer's not gonna do it. It's up to us. So those are the types of the mindset persons that we need to hire in the fire service. And sometimes we may not be able to hire them right off the bat, but we can encourage and inspire that knowledge through what we do on a day-to-day basis in our organizations through training and in fellowship too. you know Put on we use a lot of different departments videos. We can screen. We can um, have guys pick up different. Sometimes we'll sit in front of the TV and I'm like, hey, you find a video and let's throw it up on the TV. We'll mirror it and then we just kind of walk through it. I do like think about it Tuesdays and take command Thursdays. I'll send videos out to our young officers and have them think about these things and they come up with their solutions to these. And it's not picking on people. It's just trying to make sure that we don't make those same decisions, either not mistakes, but not make those same decisions and try to become better. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you got is there anything you wanted to talk about we didn't touch on?
No, I think the biggest thing is for those folks out there that are having a hard time, trying to create training and like we talked about, promoting people too soon. I think it's we shouldn't have to promote people if they're not promotable. And if we don't have enough promotable people, then we need to figure out in our organization, our administration, whether either be a fire board or city council is, we can't promote people just to promote people. We have to find and put the right people in the right jobs. Either, we're doing our own interdepartment education. We send them out. We bring people in. I know it's expensive, but man, sometimes that's what's needed. Work with other organizations. You know, um, co-op, split the price of an instructor. There's plenty of companies out there and individuals out there that can bring insight to your organization. Some people even do it for free. You just got to get out there and know. Go to those local training organizations. And I think when organizations say you have a young organization and they don't have a lot of experience, um, yeah, because sometimes people are hiring our guys and they're taking that experience. but don't hold us back because you believe where you don't have enough experience. Maybe be part of the solution and encourage some training, with organizations. So you know, we're all busy. We're busy at home. We're busy at work. But we have to make that time and manage it.
Oh, I completely agree, man. I think that's a big deal. Of course, you listen to the show and stuff, but I talk about that a lot. Is a lot of these solutions that you got to come up with an outside of the box way of doing things. We're in a whole new time. It's a whole new world. It's 2026. Like, come up with something different. But too often we're falling back on, administrative principles from the 1980s business management textbooks that were written, back then that we read in college. Cause I had to read that too. I think the business management book I've got over there was literally written in like 1982. And that was my principles of business management class I had to take in my fire administration college program, which is probably what most other fire chiefs had to read. 1982, some of us weren't even born yet. So you're dealing with a whole other group of people and stuff. So just get creative. Think about stuff outside the box, like what a demolition derby. That's about as outside the box as you can get for building, crew camaraderie and bringing the families in. Like, that's off the wall shit, but it works. So
Yeah. I mean, and you never know what what type of experience you have in your own organization. Know your folks. As a fire chief, sometimes we may not feel like we have a lot of time, but we do. I know I've been there. As company officers, know your folks. You might find somebody that has a great skill that you just didn't know because you didn't ask. And I think a lot of these folks aren't going to just come up to you and say, "Hey, chief, I went to school to be an IT guy, but I didn't like it, so now I'm a firefighter." That's a good skill to know. I don't have that skill. It's nice to know. You know, Mechanics. I mean, the guy that's doing the car, he's a tow truck driver, mechanic. Not by trade, but just he just like to go out there and just do those things. And now he's our maintenance manager, and he does a phenomenal job. It saves us a lot of money that we don't have to spend otherwise, that we could use in other places. And so we have a lot of folks that have those skills. We just have to know where they're at. Got to ask.
100%. Yeah. Hell, that
Even
would
in
be
interviews.
me.
Even in interviews, look at their resumes, look and see where they've been, look at their hobbies. Those are important things to know, who you're hiring and and what they enjoy doing.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you definitely want that guy that grew up driving tractors when you have an agricultural emergency going
Yeah,
on. I
absolutely.
mean, there's not a textbook that's gonna teach you on how to take that PTO out of gear or how to move the tractor or whatever, but that guy that's, on your crew might know that stuff. I like sharing the story because it's cool, but the last guy I interviewed was Kelsey Trotty, who was actually my very first paid, assistant fire chief. He's the very first person that hired me and gave me a shot. And he and I kinda grew up together and everything, but the big rescue that happened in Longview, Texas for the, like 900-foot tall cell phone tower that the hot air balloon got stuck in, and those guys made that, badass rescue, rope rescue, I guess is about 2 months ago now. But just total godsend, and it would never line up like this ever, ever, ever again, so it was just totally crazy, but literally, I didn't know it when I asked Kelsey, and he was the first in captain on that rescue at Longview, and it just so happened that the guy that was on his crew on days off climbs those radio towers to change out the light bulbs. Like, that's not on a resume like that.
Yeah.
That is literally like, you're telling me what? You do this? And it worked out. Yeah, the guy made the climb in, like, normally at climb, I think he said it would take him like 8 or 10 hours or whatever, and he did the climb in an hour and a half with full rope rescue equipment. So it's one of the things where, like, it's right person in the right time that has the right capabilities to make you succeed, and you just have to be willing to recognize that, I guess, is the best way I can say it.
Yeah, just know your people and get out there and have coffee with them. I mean, I've heard, chiefs out there, they'll go out there and cook breakfast for the guys. I mean, sometimes they don't want the chiefs in their space. I get it. I wouldn't become a nuisance, but I mean, sometimes my guys are like, we haven't seen you in a while, chief. Where you been? So just respect their space and take the space when when it's time to take it. So um yeah, I mean, I think getting out there, knowing your folks, get out there, train, do whatever we can as an organization to fill that gap when we lose people. And don't use the term we're not experienced enough, because um, not running calls doesn't mean you're not experienced. I could run 1,000 calls in training and get those reps. So when that time comes, when I have to do it in real life, it's not going to be a surprise.
Mm.
We're going to know. So that's it.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
what we
good
got.
point. That's a very good point. Well, I'll let you go. I know you got lots of chief stuff that you got to do. Sounds like y'all had a busy week, and it's only the first day of the week already. So
I know I got flighted a week for Memorial Weekend, so I got my Monday taken away, so I got to catch up.
I hear you, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been a long time we've been planning trying to make this happen, but I love all your support. I really can't thank you enough for how much you back us and everything that you've done and hooking us up with coming out to March Mayhem and all that kind of stuff, man. It's been phenomenal, and I'm proud to know chiefs like you that have a touch on reality and are really trying to make a difference and really care about their guys. Like that's recognized by me and of course other guys, but we recognize that in chiefs like you, and I just want to tell you thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I know, being a fire chief is not everybody's aspirations, and there has to be a fire chief. So it might as well be somebody who loves being a firefighter.
100%, man. 100%. Well, guys, that's all I got for y'all. Y'all be sure and go to thirdalarmcowboys.com, get all your stuff ordered. If you want a fist fight shirt, man, they're literally flying off. I'm gonna have to have my lady make a whole lot more shirts. But other than that, if you're interested in any kind of training stuff like that, go to thirdalarmcowboys.com. We'll see you on the next one.